Hey guys, Mike here. So I got a big week setting up here, and of course, NVIDIA, the king of all kings, is going to be reporting this week, and I'm going to show you what they're expecting, and then I'll show you how crazy it is, right? Just how far and the accomplishments as far as earnings. I'll tip my hat to them. The growth has been crazy, but I'll show you what they're expecting on Wednesday and why it's just unbelievable when you see it. If they hit it again, it's like holy cow, right? Because I'm going to show you other companies who are very prevalent, high, in companies that everybody invests in, and I'll show you what their year-over-year numbers are, and then what they're expecting for NVIDIA. Okay. We'll also go into Tesla, because you might have noticed market sold off big time. Tesla was very green, along with Palantir. Some of you guys asked about that chart I put in Saturday's video. I'll go back and tell you and explain what I was talking about in Saturday's video. Again, I'll link that video at the end if you hadn't seen it. And then we'll go into an interview, and we'll go into a couple more charts, but then I'll show you an interview with Jim Carson, where he talks about the flows, and he makes a very interesting point. And because you might be wondering, like, how are these stocks over here, right, the high base stuff, they're just going to the moon, and all of these stocks are just struggling. Okay, and so it makes sense what he says, and then if it comes true, you're kind of like, wow, okay, that was a good call there, And so getting into NVIDIA's chart here first, you can plainly see we're sitting at a critical level. Okay, we're sitting on this trend line right here. We're sitting at that 0.5 fib right there. It did bounce, so they saved it. It filled that gap to the left, as you can see. But we still have Monday and Tuesday, and then it doesn't report until after the bell on Wednesday. So 3 full trading days to see where they want to take this. Obviously, they want to push it down below that. Hey, guess what? 135.50 is going to be where you want to be looking at. And a couple of things that are interesting on this one is you got Elon putting this out Friday saying they raised up to $6 billion to purchase 100,000 NVIDIA chips. But then you had this come out today, and it's the Blackwell chips overheating. But suppose it's not the chips per se, it's how they're putting them in the racks. And so they're going to reach out to the vendors and suppliers and everything and try to tell them to do it differently. We'll see how that works. But that's something that's going to, you'll see Monday. We'll see how the market's going to adjust that Monday to bring it down or not. And it's something you're going to have to hear about on the call, right? Because that's their latest chip out there. And they truly don't really have much of a competitor. I mean, AMD is supposed to be a competitor, but let's be real. Now, and that leads me into this right here. Look at what they're expecting. 85% year-over-year increase in EPS. Revenue, 81% increase year-over-year. You may think, well, that's not really a big deal, right? Well, if you look at a lot of income statements, and I got this in our Discord here, I like this little view here. You can see right here, Amazon, for example, reported 11% year-over-year in their latest one. Okay, and then you go up here to Apple, and you got a whopping 6% year-over-year. And remember, these are big, heavily invested companies, right? And you scroll up here, and you got Meta, high flyer, 19% year-over-year. Google, 15% year-over-year. AMD, their biggest competitor, 18% year-over-year. Microsoft, 16%. Let's go find Tesla here, and you can see, because you would think Tesla would have huge numbers, right? Because they flew 8% year-over-year in revenue, and they're expecting 81%. So it's either going to be, hey, finally trips over the hurdles, or maybe they'll clear the bar. Let me know what you think in the comments. That leads us to the ETFs, right? Like stocks, for example, sitting here coming down in this shaded area, which has been support, resistance, flip back and forth, broke that trend line on Friday. So it's right there, okay? And when we come over here, we'll go into, you can see it right there. So it's bounced the last few times. When you go into SMH, though, you can see that one right there actually broke the trend line. And so it's come down here, and you can see it's the gap of no man's land where you don't want to be in the volume range, volume profile right there. So if that breaks down, obviously you could be heading all the way down to probably around 225-ish right there. But all of this depends on NVIDIA earnings and how the market wants to accept them. Okay, we've seen it depends on what the flow is going to do. We've seen, companies beat earnings, still end up selling off, all that fun stuff. And we've been here before. Okay, so let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen on that one. Tesla, you can see we were super red on Friday. Tesla was not. Had a really good day. Got this bounce. Did not get down to this, 300 level right there. And as long as it's above 300, the bulls will remain in charge. Once it gets below 300, then we start talking about a different scenario. You can see the ranges, right? If it starts to come up here, you're going to be talking about 328. 335, 336 or somewhere in there, and then around 345 we'll stop there, because the other one was the all-time high at 356 right there. Not the all-time high, but the new 52-week high. And then when you look at this right here, obviously, a lot of these are just running like crazy. Still hadn't even come down to a discount range, right? Once it breaks below 300, then you start looking for the 50 fib, the golden pocket, all that fun stuff. Because when you look back here, you can see on all these runs what happened. Big runs up, by the way. They came back down and gave you a discount. Anything below that 50 Fibonacci, you consider a discount. Right here, same thing, came back down, ends up going down to the golden pocket right there. You see one more pop right there. This is a gap up again right here on earnings. You can see that's 28% run in like 3 days. And then it ended up pulling back right there, and it gave us the 50 Fib on that one. And so you'll usually get a discount. Don't have to always do that, right? And so it's working its way down. So we'll see. And again, this one isn't going with the market, so to speak. The other ones are going with the market. And so it's kind of doing its own thing. And when the options market get behind it, you see what it can do. When the options market turns on it like it did last week, then it's a whole different story. Now, when you look over at the MACD, any kind of like momentum, because this is a momentum stock, your stochastic RSI and stuff, I mean, you can clearly see what you don't want to see if you're, an investor here and you want to be in the bull camp, is you don't want to see that MACD roll over and do a bearish cross, right? And right now you're sitting on the stochastic where you're right at that 50 line. And last time it got to bounce back up, which is what started moving it back up. So it needs to turn up, right? Just watch your momentum indicators. It has seasonality on its side, as you can see. November, one of the best for it right here. That is paying off so far. So seasonality, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, all that stuff is doing this thing. So, and helping this one out. Now Palantir, if you're looking for this one, if it just continues to go, because it is getting added to the NASDAQ right here, 74.24. Let me pull this down so we can see the next level, up around like 80 right there. And, what you want to look at is if it starts to come down, how does it react to the fibs, right? Does it bounce off the fibs or just cut right through them? Okay, because this is one of those ones, when you listen to Jim Carson talk, this is one of the things you want to listen for and understand. This is one of those ones he's going to be talking about that's running. And so, again, when you come down to even get to a discount, you're getting around 55, 54, somewhere in there. And what you have, this is a meteoric rise. That's what this is, a crazy squeeze up. Okay, it's nothing to do with fundamentals and earnings, because you can compare Palantir earnings and everything else to other stocks that are nowhere near the market cap that Palantir is at right now. We've seen this movie. We've seen it many times in different stocks, right? Palantir just getting its turn now to squeeze up and stuff. And so again, when you try to pull down and say, okay, well we'll pull that from the run, even though it's not the beginning of the actual run. Right there, 53.34 would start the discount, right? If we do start to finally get some rotation out of this one, maybe into the bigger names, that happens. If you pull it from the original, where it really started, around $43 right there. And when you look back, right, this is normal. Doesn't have to happen, right, anytime soon. But when you look back at its other runs, you can clearly see there's no doubt it came back down and gave a discount every single time it ran up right here. Like, you may not look like this gave you a discount, but watch, pull it down. Again, these stocks respect fibs, right? That's in the run. And then if you want to pull it all the way down to the bottom where it actually originally started this big move up right there from 7 to 20, it still gave you the 50 fib multiple times, right? And that was a big run up from 7 to 20. And so, again, just pull your fib. You'll see what I'm talking about. And so hopefully that makes sense. That's what I was talking about in Saturday's video. And now I'm going to let you listen to Jim Carson, which I think this makes total sense. And it'll explain Palantir and Tesla and some of these others you may hold in your portfolio and what's happening. And I never thought I'd actually hear anybody actually say this, but it seems to be true.
Yeah, you got to look at the whole picture, right? You got to look at how everything relates to one another. You can't just look at one and say, oh, this is what drives things, or this is what drives things. What I can tell you is right now, vol is compressed. That there are structural Vana and charm flows that are going to support this market and that are going to continue to compress the S&P 500.
That's number one, and that's calendar.
That's fact. That's going to happen. As that happens, the constituents, by definition, have to move away from each other. So we have a market structure understanding, right? So now we understand that as certain things move one way, other things are going to have to move the other way at an equal amount, right? The question is now, what are those things? Now we can start to look at where the pressures are. And it's not just narrative, which we talked about. It's other structural flows. Some of these short gamma areas, the Russell, very short gamma on the upside, likely to also play into some of these themes and these narratives. Go find the narratives. This is, again, the running of the memes. Expected to continue. We've talked about this before. During times of dispersion, those things are more likely to run. You're more likely to get outsized, dramatic moves in the constituents and single names. This is not a surprise. Like you're likely to see it for a couple years. Now, the vol stuff will break at some point, right? And likely after the end of this year.
And so hopefully that makes sense. Let me know what you think down the bottom about that. And when you look at this right here, like here's Amazon, right? This is one of the ones pulled back. We talked about once you hit that 1.272, we've done nothing but pull back. If 205 broke, we were going down to the Jeff Bezos level of 202. And so right now that held, it got a bounce the other day. And so we'll just look, see, because obviously if 200 breaks, you can see what's going to happen. It's going to come down to a 193 right there, which is like the 0.79 fib, fill a gap, all that fun stuff. And so, but supposedly, again, supposedly his selling is over. And if we do continue this bounce up, what you want to look for to see if we can get through this gap. That's what you want to see, because if we can't get through the gap and the market continues to sell off and it wants to SPY, which we're going to talk about in a minute, to fill its election gap, then that's what you're going to see from Amazon most likely. And talking about the indices real quick, you can see right here, I mean, on the smaller time frames, what are you doing? You're setting lower highs, lower lows. And so what you're looking for really is to see if it's going to come up, fill this gap, maybe end up, you know, and this is really where bulls want to get, right? They want to get above that trend line, above that area right there around 596, where they want to get to start repairing this damage. And it really just depends on what's going to happen on the election gap, right? So that might be something you see, that's what you're looking for, right? To come up, set another lower high, and then break that low and come down. And that's what it's going to end up looking like. And then it's going to start filling that gap. And the reason why I have a question mark about it is because when we go to the Qs, you'll understand, right? The Qs have already started to fill the gap. And it's almost completely filled the gap. It's actually down there, that trend line, right? And it's a very small percentage away from filling the whole gap. It don't have to fill the whole gap, right? But it got to bounce. As soon as it hit the trend line, it got to bounce, okay? But again, it's another one on lower time frames, setting lower highs, lower lows. So the question is, do they want to fill this, or do they want the SPY to fill its gap? Okay, that's what we're basically looking for here. And going back to SPY, you can see what I'm talking about. It started to inch into it, and I told members, I said, I'm telling you right now, this is what? A soap opera. That's my soap opera theory. That would not make for good drama coming into NVIDIA earnings week and coming into a weekend after OPEX to have this fill its gap on Friday like it did the Qs. And so that's why you see the stop, right? It's all about the drama. Ooh, the cliffhanger, right? And so do they want to bring it down? So if the Qs actually do come down and completely fill that gap, that would actually put SPY close to the 50 Fibonacci level, or not 50 Fibonacci level, but filling half its gap is what it would do. And sometimes you'll see that a lot. So that's what we're looking out for. Just a couple scenarios to watch out for come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now, when it comes to earnings, we're going to start getting to a lot more retailers and stuff, okay? So you have Trip.com. We'll see if we're still traveling. Walmart, big retailer, right? Lowe's, big retailer, okay? And then when you look, I'm going to come back. I'll mark out XPeng in a minute because, I mean, it is an EV, company and stuff. But when you come over here to Wednesday, you'll have NEO, Target, another big one right there. I'll mark out XPeng for you. But NEO, Target, and then TJX. Zim's going to report as well. And then the big boy, NVIDIA after earnings, Snowflake, Palo Alto, okay? And so then we'll go over to Thursday. Baidu's going to report. I believe that right there is JD.com, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's PDD, excuse me. John Deere, BJ is the big one. Then you'll have Intuits, Gap Incorporated, Ross, and then nothing on Friday to worry about. Very light economic news, by the way. As you can see, not a lot of red folder going on here at all. They got the G20 meetings. I don't know if that's going to affect the market whatsoever, but we'll see. You have stuff like building permits on Tuesday, housing starts, probably still going to be a mess, right? Wednesday, crude oil inventories. Thursday, you'll have red folder unemployment claims, Philly Fed manufacturing index, FOMC members talking, existing home sales, natural gas storage. And then on Friday, red folder as far as flash manufacturing PMI and flash services PMI, and then consumer sentiment. Okay, so it'll be a fun one. Put down the bottom what you think is going to happen right there. Please hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Feel free to sign up for the membership, less than a McDonald's combo. And that's everything. You get rid of it right there, folks. And I will end up seeing you tomorrow for another fun one. Have a good one.